I think it's absolutely vital that we in Britain have an understanding of the nature and scale of what is happening in Darfur. We've had over 4 million people displaced, 2 million people reliant on food aid, and we think around 200,000 people dead. It's absolutely vital that UNHCR is there on the ground. I've been very distressed about the attacks on humanitarian personnel, and I think it's vital that we as the international community stand up and are counted, and organisations like the Aegis Trust give us a space in which we as politicians, but broader civil society, can come together and say, we will not accept this.
The work that UNHCR and the Aegis Trust are doing is bringing to life something which unfortunately people are rapidly becoming inured to by seeing it on television. They just see it, nothing changes, Darfur, yes, terrible tragedy. But when you actually look at this and you see that this is, a family's life, a mother, a father, extended family, and that's what's happened to it. I think it enables people somehow to think of it in a much more three-dimensional way.
Just the fact that it's not always in the headlines doesn't mean it shouldn't always be in our conscience and our thoughts. As you can see, it's the most striking display, and it gets home a message in a very clear way, in a very imaginative way.
The present crisis in Darfur demands a whole range of organisations working hard to bring the very basic support that people need, whether it be food, shelter, medicines or clean water. And I pay tribute to all the organisations who are at the moment doing so much in extraordinarily difficult circumstances to try and make a difference in Darfur.
Well, the work being done is absolutely fantastic, and to say it's a lifeline really is putting it mildly. The humanitarian situation is dire, and in fact has been worsening. And whilst the UK is the second biggest bilateral donor, we do rely on organisations like this to do the work, and I'm grateful.
I think it's vital that every individual with a conscience supports Aegis, supports the United Nations in its work in Darfur, and makes sure that everybody rallies to that cause. It's one of the prime moral causes of our time, and it is not getting the attention or the support that it ought to.
It's essential that the Aegis Trust and the UNHCR secures generous support for their efforts to aid people in Darfur, wretched people. Obviously, that's got to be a fundamental part of the reaction of all decent people, especially people in democracies, to the agony of the people of Darfur.
What the UNHCR are doing and Aegis supporting is so necessary for hundreds of thousands of people who otherwise wouldn't get any support.
I think it's absolutely critical that we keep this in the public domain, and the work that these organisations are doing collectively certainly helps to do that. And why it's crucial is that civilian protection is still paramount, and unfortunately enough isn't being done, and that if people are shifted at this stage, then there's every chance that they won't have safety and security. They could be subjected to violence and indeed murder.
I've seen the work of UNHCR many times, certainly since I've been in the European Parliament, and I can't talk highly enough about the caring, the responses to people's needs, which are sometimes overwhelming. But I've been to Darfur, and I've seen a bombed village, and I've seen the frightened people, and it is absolutely unbelievable that we continue to tolerate this situation and this suffering.
The UNHCR, the United Nations body, it's spoken out for people who are facing or experiencing real fear of persecution, and who then may have to become refugees. And I've seen myself the devastation and the distress caused in Darfur from visits that I've made in the past when I was British Foreign Secretary. And the Aegis Trust also has a very important role to play in highlighting the dangers and sometimes the reality of genocide.
The whole of Britain knows the tragedy of Darfur. The government is absolutely committed to a comprehensive approach that is to improve the security situation, to make sure there's humanitarian aid to those who need it, and of course to make sure that the politics is in place, not just in Darfur but across Sudan, and critically on the Sudan-Chad border, to make sure that there is a durable settlement. We're a long way from that at the moment. I can assure you that the situation in Darfur will remain high on the agenda. Governments are important, but they need to come together, and that's why the UNHCR is important in Mobilising world opinion. We're proud supporters of the Aegis Trust and the work that it's trying to do in the most demanding and difficult conditions around the world.
And so I think that the work that's done to keep it in people's minds, keep it on the agenda of the international community, is invaluable. And let's hope it soon succeeds.